Hi, good evening. I'd like to call the October 15th, 2024 meeting of the Buncombe County Commission to order. I thank you all for joining us for this meeting, which was being held virtually. I'm Brownie Newman, Chairman of the Board of Commissioners. I'd like to welcome everyone to the virtual meeting. All commission members are participating virtually, and we have staff participating from the County Emergency Operations Center. The live meeting is being streamed on the county's Facebook page. And I'd like to ask commissioners and staff to please unmute, and if each person could just do a quick introduction. I'll just call your name and maybe then just say it. So Parker Sloan.
Here.
Right. Commissioner Al Whiteside.
Here.
Commissioner Terry Wells.
Here.
Commissioner Jasmine Beach Ferrara.
Here.
Commissioner Martin Moore.
Here.
Commissioner Amanda Edwards.
Here.
County Manager Avril Pender.
Here.
Okay, great. And our clerk to the board, Sarah Gross.
Hello.
All right. Hey, thanks everyone for being with us this evening. I want to read the code of ethics adopted by the board before we begin the business meeting. All commissioners have a duty to obey all applicable laws regarding official actions, to uphold the integrity and independence of the office, to avoid impropriety in the exercise of official duties, to faithfully perform the duties of the office, and to conduct the affairs of the governing board in an open and public manner. Is there any item on the agenda, the outcome of which would have a direct, substantial, and readily identifiable financial impact for any board member? Does any board member have a financial interest in any public contract coming before the board today? There being none, all board members have a duty and obligation to vote on any matters that are voted on by the Board of Commissioners at our meeting this evening. Okay, so our first item is the consent agenda. Do any commissioners have any questions about any items on the consent agenda? Okay, if not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda and to follow the remainder of the agenda as it's been published?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Sarah, did you get that?
I did. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're gonna do a roll call on the motion to approve the consent agenda. I'll call each commissioner, and if you could just let us vote aye or nay on it. Vice Chair Parker Sloan.
Aye.
Commissioner Al Whitesides.
Aye.
Commissioner Terry Wells.
Aye.
Commissioner Jasmine Beach Ferrara.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin Moore.
Aye.
And Commissioner Amanda Edwards.
Aye.
Okay, and I also vote aye. It passes unanimously. Okay, we now come to the public comment period. Public comment for this remote meeting was accepted by two means: written comment to the clerk and by signing up in advance. The board received two written comments from the clerk, and these comments have been added to the online agenda for the meeting. The board has received these comments, and staff will follow up with the constituents who submitted the comments. All right, so there is no additional public comment for the meeting. I would now like to ask the county manager to share the county manager's report.
Thank you, Commissioner. We are working on a PowerPoint to bring up for you as we want to talk a little bit about the Hurricane Helene response. So if you'll give us a quick minute, we will pull that up. As you are aware, on October 27th, Friday evening, Hurricane Helene, or actually Tropical Storm Helene, impacted our region. This impact came after significant rainfalls that actually exacerbated the impact of Helene on our community. The rain caused significant flooding along our rivers, our creeks, and our tributaries. Watching. Have some pictures that we wanted to show you as we were going around our community. Can they hear us?
Oh,
Okay.
we hear you.
Okay, thank you. We'll continue talking. I did have with me this afternoon Emergency Management Director Taylor Jones, and we'll just want to talk briefly about the response from our county's perspective. And he's going to lead us off in that conversation. Whenever we get the slides, we'll bring them back online and show those to you at that time.
Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for being here with us today. So the Buncombe County Emergency Response and Recovery Plan has been well underway, not only during the storm, but actually pre-landfall to the storm. During those times and days that have gone by, we have focused on search and rescue, mass care, food and water distribution, public health, emergency medical care, information planning, logistics, resource ordering and fulfillment through our logistics, damage assessment and debris management, donation and volunteer management, communications and public affairs. We've also been very engaged in our community with our public safety response from fire, law enforcement, emergency management, EMS, and of course, our 911 operators that has maintained our call structure and really kept us focused in the areas of 911 calls and kept the information exchange going strong. I really want to thank the men and women of Buncombe County Emergency Services, of the Buncombe County Public Safety 911 Center, the fire departments in Buncombe County, our law enforcement, and also our partners from FEMA and the state emergency medical response, and also from the state emergency management team. They've also put strike teams in our community that have been serving with our teams to handle the increase in call volume.
Thanks, Taylor. Can I have someone advance those slides? We have a picture of a map here to show you, commissioners, of where we have been doing our recovery locations, from our pod distribution to our medical center that Taylor mentioned. Thanks, Taylor. So these were some of the pictures, commissioners, from around our district as we've been driving around and looking at the pictures. You've seen these on CNN and national news. But I just wanted to make sure that our community is also aware, because when you go around our community, some sections look fine, but then there are others along our rivers and tributaries that has really been impacted. So we just want to show you a quick shot of the pictures of what we're seeing in our community. Okay. But in true Asheville style and true mountain style, our community has come together and has really started to address the needs of each other and the needs of our distribution sites. So if you go back one, Civil, to the distribution site. So this is a map of Buncombe County that is showing all the locations that we've actually had pods distribution set up. As you can see, our medical sites and all the other response that our county has come forward to help address our community needs at this time. I just wanted to show you that it is far and wide across our community as we're trying to address all locations that has been impacted by Hurricane Helene. As Taylor mentioned, we focused on food and water as our water system was impacted. we focus on our water distribution sites. We've distributed over 1.1, almost 1.2 bottles of water, 173,000 gallons of potable water, and just 0.5 gallons. And this is the non-potable distribution. This does not include what we were given to our community partners. And as far as those meals ready to eat, 267,000 meals ready to eat. Next. We pivoted real quickly and we had to focus on standing up shelters. We established 4 disaster shelters for our community, provided shelter for over 6,500 shelter nights. Currently, as of yesterday, we had 331 individuals and 39 pets were still in our shelter. Next slide. Our community care stations that have been established, we have 4 currently in our community: Swannanoa, AC Reynolds, Brevard Road, and Barnersville. These include showers, laundry, hot meals, Wi-Fi, and all the other things that our community were looking for and need at that time. To date, we've had 2,000 shower users and over 800 people doing laundry in these facilities. The question has come to us about opening more. We had planned originally to open 6 of these sites. 4 is open. We're working on our 5th. But now that water is back on in the majority of many parts of our district, I wouldn't say the majority, but many parts of our district, will evaluate the need to continue to open up these comfort care stations. Donations, as you know, not just Asheville wanted to give, but across our nation, we were receiving donations. We set up a donation box and we had processed over 2,087 emails from that donation inbox. We have directed to our local community foundation where we have cash. If we receive any cash and financial donations, we sent those to the 5 community sites that are handling donations for us, the actual cash donations. And we receive over 350 responses to the donation interest form that people are interested in donating to us. To handle those donations, we actually started warehouse locations. Our first location opened on December 29th, just 2 days after the storm. It was a 24/7 operation that was manned by staff. We now have some outside help helping to run that donation site. At the Monticello site, we received 335,000 gallons or 1,800 pallets of water. We had 11 potable tankers that we were trying to staff and run and go around our county on a loop to keep water at different pods and pod distribution site. And we had 1 non-potable tanker. For MREs, we had 1,682 pallets, which equates to over 1 million kits of meals ready to eat. On the distribution side, we mentioned before that we had distributed water, not just bottles, but tanks of water or gallon tanks of water, and our meals ready to eat was distributed. We opened up a second site on October the 4th, and that was to take smaller donations, not just on pallets, but everyone that wanted to donate that wasn't on a pallet, the smaller types, they could actually drive up any size vehicles to the Commerce Way warehouse. Next slide. As you know, in Asheville, people are always wanting to help, and it was been remarkable to see our community turn out and try to help us respond to this. So we had a donation and volunteer management set up. And on that volunteer management, we processed over 4,392 emails from a Helene donation, the inbox that we set up to receive those volunteers, so that we can process them and make sure they were fully vetted and could be in our system. We received 3,989 responses to folks that were interested, just the interest form coming into that website, that email box as well. We were able to help local nonprofits, United Way, Hands on Asheville, Buncombe, to volunteer for community opportunities. Currently, we have 11 active slots for our pods, our community cares, and the Commerce Way warehouse. The over 1,500 available slots for volunteers with Hands on Asheville and Buncombe County. And currently of those 1,571, 1,237 slots are filled. So there's anyone else wants to volunteer, there's opportunities that they can do that through Hands on Asheville and Buncombe County. And I'll let Taylor just spend a little bit of time on the current emergency response and where we are today.
So currently we have one North Carolina USAR team assisting Buncombe County in combination of North Carolina Task Force 6 and North Carolina Task Force 9. That's also augmenting our current Task Force 2 to do the assist personnel.
Taylor, we're having a little trouble hearing you. It's breaking up a bit.
Okay. So within our community response efforts now, everyone is working together. We're focused on maintaining our pods, maintaining emergency operations, maintaining our wellness of our community through air monitoring quality, through water testing, and working with our first responder community to provide all life safety wraparound care. I can tell you over and over, the community has been tremendous how they've come out and supported our first responders, our fire departments with donated goods, and the actual volunteer support with our nonprofits and our faith-based organizations have been phenomenal and been part of this emergency response from the beginning. Also, I want to thank our county employees for all the hard work that they've done in our Emergency Operations Center. But one of the things I really want to talk about in the next slide here is the tremendous work that Duke Energy has done. We went from 151,000 down to my latest was around 4,000 customers still without power. That's amazing in this short period of time. They have worked and been consistent with prioritizing our healthcare facilities, our assisted living facilities, and our critical needs in the community first, our emergency shelters. All these were prioritized and turned on quickly to help restore the community. But they've also been out in our community strong, and it's amazing to see this work this fast. I also want to speak to the Asheville City Water and how quickly they have mobilized. Being on the ground and seeing the damage firsthand and seeing the progress that they've made with restoration has been nothing short of amazing. They've done some fantastic work, and I'd like to thank the city of Asheville and our partners with the Water District for all the hard work that they've been doing. We've also been working with our schools, not only to provide camps and staging areas for all the first responders in the initial phase, but setting up our donation centers, our pods, our comfort care stations. There's really been a strong strategy there with our schools, and Dr. Jackson and his team has done everything from refueling our emergency response vehicles from the beginning to helping us with staging areas throughout this thing. But as we look forward to reopening our schools and aligning with a strategy for potable water and non-potable water, and working with our federal and state partners and our school districts to make that happen, is going to be one of our strong focuses. Again, I just want to thank everybody that's been involved, because it's been a whole community approach to getting our community back to a norm. And when I look through the incremental progress that's been made over this time, it has been amazing. And I want to thank everybody that's touched that and been a part of it, because we have all put our community in a better place post-disaster. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Taylor. So Commissioners, Taylor talked a little bit about where we are currently in the response and the partnerships we've been building. And now we start to continue to assess our damage. if you recall, in 2021, Tropical Storm Fred came through, and we learned then that we needed some tools. And one of those tools that we had was the state taught us was using Survey 123 as a software system and a computer system to really help us to do our damage assessment. We have now gone back to that tool. The tool is a real-time underground tool that we can use as we go from site to site. And today we can tell you that about 70% of our structures has been assessed throughout our community. And with that, we would imagine over hundreds of millions of dollars is the damage that we're seeing. Since we're not completed yet, we're not given an exact number, but from what we're seeing on the ground today, we think that can climb closer to the billions of dollars as we're seeing in our community as we go around. That's a picture of where we see right now of all the damage that we're seeing. And if you can drill down on this and look at the yellow, as we stand today, the yellow means affected structures. We're not breaking out the structures from whether they're single family homes or commercial structures. Right now, they're just the structures, as you can see. And the yellow affected is about over 770 structures have some effective damage to them. Minor damage is over 820 structures have minor damage. Major damage, 974 structures have major damage. And destroyed, based on our Survey 123 and underground data, is about 575 structures has been destroyed. That's what we're seeing now as we're going through our community. We hope to have that completed within the next several weeks, to have 100% of the community reviewed. There's still some places that we cannot get to in our community. So we're working through to figure with our fire departments and our different local partners on accessing those facilities. You might recall that we also set up a number that residents can QR code and send us pictures of damages that they have. To date, we have received 218 surveys completed from that data that people are submitting to us. This is damages related to private infrastructure, whether that's private roads, private bridges, culverts, or driveways. These are pictures that residents are uploading to us that we can see. So moving now from our response to recovery, our recovery efforts will continue. So looking ahead to recovery. We know that some parts of our community has been devastated, so recovery will be a long-term process. We are focusing as well on the 4 C's of communication with our community, with our partners, but mostly in our neighborhoods, that we need to be communication, coordination, and collaboration with our partners and our community, and cooperation throughout. So we will focus on making sure our community knows there's a community voice at the table as we think through what does recovery look like. As I mentioned, we're working on the assessment of damage. So in the short term, we'll continue identification and assess damage. We're working right now on debris management. You've heard us talk about that in our briefings, where we have a contractor that is already on the ground starting to do that debris removal. We are working with a company called SDR. We focus first on critical infrastructure. So we have cleared most of our schools. We have cleared our hospital or any areas to make sure people can access those critical infrastructures or sewer plants. And now we started in Swannanoa, starting to pick up just along the curbs and gutters for people that can bring their debris forward to the ground. In long-term recovery, in short-term, we're also looking for different funding sources or reallocation of current existing funding sources to see how we can do that. So hopefully at our next budget meeting, we can talk about if there's any ability that we can take some of our funding that will to help jumpstart some of our community recovery purposes. In the longer term, I mentioned that community voice and community collaboration and communication. We look to establish a task force that will help to target different areas of our community that needs it and start working through how do we start rebuilding our community and restoring economic activity in those areas. You might recall that we talked about doing an RFP for a disaster recovery consultant that can help with financial and grant management support and any cost recovery that we can do. So we released an RFP on October 1st. It came back on October 11th. It was a short 7 days. And in those 7 days, we received 21 proposals. Right now, we have a cross-departmental team reviewing that. We also have some of our external partners that know this work, helping us to review those proposals. The plan would be at our next meeting on November 7th, which, remember, that's the Thursday. We moved the date due to election. We would come for a Board of Commissioners action to award that contract so that that selected contractor can start working with us, start working with our federal and state partners to get our disaster program really kickstarted here in Buncombe County.
Admiral, could you speak a little bit more to what those consultants would do? Just a little bit more detail of kind of the menu of things they might be working on.
So some of the things that they'll be working on will be helping to look at the public assistance, making sure all of the county buildings and the resources that we need to access from FEMA, we can do that. But they'll also help us to set up a site along with the FEMA representation to come in and help individual people have access to get in their individual assistance packages completed for FEMA. They'll help our other communities from Woodfin, Weaverville, some of those communities as well to help them get their process taken care of, and our fire department partners, making sure we can help them to rebuild and get the funding that they need to get their stations back up and running. So that consultant is really helping us guide the process on FEMA, federal and state disaster programs, whether that's going to be USDA helping our farmers and everybody else in our community that needs to get back and get access to FEMA money or USDA funding or SBA funding, that they can help us to guide that process.
Okay, thank you.
I mentioned briefly on debris removal. So started on Monday, they started on the critical infrastructure. Today, they started in Swannanoa, starting to remove debris. We will ask residents, and we're going to start doing more publication on this and more communication to our residents to start moving what's in the right of way. This contractor will start moving those debris that is in the right of way, which means it's along the curbs, it's along the front of your property, that they can quickly go down the street and remove that debris. That started in Swannanoa today. We have certain sites in our community and we're looking for more. So if you know of anyone that has a large tract of land that they wouldn't mind us putting the vegetative debris and staging it there, while we can, we'll move it from the neighborhoods, move it to this site and stage it. The plan would be then to chip it up almost in mulch, and some we will look to burn with our air quality partners and permit some air quality to do that. I believe we have 4 sites and we're looking for 2 more sites that could take that load from our community. The next thing we're going to focus on is housing, whether that's temporary and long-term. We know that there's some residents in our shelters that have lost their homes. And so we need to help them to get some stability, and housing is one of those. We're working with our FEMA partners and our state partners on what does that look like in our community and where will we site that, if it's going to be apartments or if that's going to be FEMA mobile homes. What does that look like as we start looking to get some temporary housing? And beyond the temporary housing, we start thinking about long-term recovery and rebuilding for our residents. We also working with small business assistants to help our economic recovery, making sure that our businesses and our small business can get back to functioning and restarting our economy. On the individual assistance, the state of North Carolina has given a date, which is Friday, coming up Friday, to start the disaster supplemental nutrition program. So we're getting our staffing ready for that. We expect about 25,000 applications to come in between the next several weeks when this opens on Friday. So having a robust response so that every individual is not waiting to get that asset and that benefit turned on. We're working with staff to see how we can make that happen as well. A big event, as you know, is coming right around the corner, starts actually on Thursday, is early voting. We have been planning for this. We've been working for early voting to make sure we have a good process. These are the approved locations in our community. They are scaled back from what we had originally intended due to some of the buildings not all ready, not all appropriately ready, or had some slight damage to them. So we are working. We probably will have to reallocate some staff to do the early voting to ensure that we have good coverage and our process is good and accurate, and we don't have any issues with early voting. We will pivot to day off voting, and we will also have to allocate some staff to meet that need. If we don't have enough poll workers, you will see us having to scale back some operations to ensure that we have the right amount of folks to run our voting sites this year. I just want to put this slide up for some numbers that residents can see if they need help or if they need any assistance, they can call our call center. Our disaster recovery centers are open 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. They can go in person for one-on-one conversations to start getting their applications processed. They can also go online to disasterassistance.gov to apply online. I just wanted to put this up that folks can see if they need any assistance. There are places in our community that you can access, or there are things online that you can access. And of course, you can also tune into our daily briefings on Facebook or YouTube for more up-to-date information. I wanted to leave that there again and ask if you had any questions. If you had any questions or need any additional information on any of the efforts that we've been undertaking this past 2 weeks.
Commissioners, any questions?
I did have one, and it's only from your last slide, Avril. For those who might be in need of emergency identification, is there something that we can do for those folks? Because I know the DOT might take a little bit of time to get people licenses, but there's a myriad of reasons why they might need them in this circumstance.
Yes, they can actually go to our elections office at 59 Woodfin, and we would make them an ID. It takes about 10 minutes to get an ID for voting.
Could that be used anywhere else as well?
I don't believe so. I think it is just a voting ID. They would have to go to ncdot.gov, or is that NCDOT or is it DMV? I think that's the typo. It should use NCDMV to get a replacement driver's license. The voting ID that we can give you is just for voting purposes.
Thank you.
And Avril, I know there's a through buncombeready.org, there's a form that people can fill out to report storm damage and that sort of thing. I guess for folks maybe listening at home, what's the best way to navigate to that form?
There was a QR code on there as well that people could just, if they do the QR code, it takes them directly into that form. But buncombeready.gov, but there's a QR code, and I'm looking at my staff now to make sure. Buncombeready.org is what they're telling me, Parker, is the best way to get to that. And we have it up front for you to be able to self-report any damages that you have on private infrastructure.
And it's also public road damage too. It's a whole menu of things they can
Yes.
do. Right. Okay. That's
And
great.
if you let us know that, then we can go and assess, and if we haven't already captured it as we're going around our community.
Okay, just a clarification, because I'm not sure if I heard Parker correctly. So this is specifically for private property?
I think there's a menu of other things that they can also give us, Terry. So if they give us, I'm sorry, Commissioner Wells, if they give us that list, that would help us as we go around. If we haven't already captured that in our own visits, they can alert us to things as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Terry, it's got road damage. It asks you whether it's private or state, bridges, vehicles, structures, that sort of thing. And it's like geocoded, so our folks and whoever needs to see it can find the actual location.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Should residents who are filling out that survey also separately upload photos and tag those? And if so, can you post that link here as well?
Okay. Yep. I will have Lillian or someone post that link. Yes, the pictures are really helpful as well. So
That'd be great. Thank you. And thanks to everyone for the response, our first responders and staff for the amazing amount of hours that have been put in to take care of residents all across Buncombe County over these last, I think we've all lost track of the days and the weeks at this point. But I know we've heard from a lot of residents who have been incredibly grateful that they've been able to access food and water and have felt very taken care of. So thank y'all.
Thank you, Commissioner, for bringing that up as well. We know that many of our employees that were working at EOC also had damage at home, but they put this duty first before they can actually go take care of their own property and their own family's needs. So it has been heart-wrenching for me to watch them come in day after day, sometimes right on the edge where we know that they've just heard some bad news from their family, but they had to push through. And that has been remarkable for me to witness and for our residents to know that these are humans, and every single person that has come to visit us from across this country has said, you guys are just rocking it, because we see and we know what's going on in the community that you just told us you lived in. And for you guys to still be here, I think about 20 something days in now for us, because we started before the storm and they have been here every single day. So I know it's been hard, but I'm so grateful to work with this team of folks. They have been dedicated to this community and they have given it 100%. So I'm really grateful and honored to work with this team.
I want to just echo Commissioner Edwards' thanks to all the county staff, the first responders from Buncombe County, and from all of our partner agencies, and from all the people who come here from all across the country to help out our community during this unprecedented disaster. And all the people in the community who've come together. It's been remarkable to watch. It's made such a huge difference. I mean, it's been a terrible, terrible catastrophe for our region, but not for the work of so many different people coming together. It would have been so much worse. And this dedication that people have shown, I know, has been physically and mentally and emotionally exhausting for everyone. And so just the perseverance and sacrifices people have made is something that the community is very grateful for. So thank you to everyone who's been part of it. And I hope everyone, as we do move into these next stages of the recovery process, there's so much more work to be done, but I hope we can also find space so that people can get rest and take care of themselves. It's been a very traumatic event for the people of our region. And so we're going to have to really continue to take care of each other as our community moves forward. But thank you all for everything that people have done. Avril, any other items on any other updates on this item?
No, sir, that's my report.
Okay. All right, commissioners, let's move on to new business. The first item on the agenda is a resolution continuing the January 1st, 2025 reappraisal until January 1st, 2026. And Eric Kreger is here to provide more information on this item.
Good evening, commissioners. Thank you for having me here today. Like I said, I'm here to talk about the resolution to push the deadline for the 2025 reappraisal to January 1 of 2026. So first of all, our appraisal staff, the entire staff has pivoted from their typical reappraisal duties to damage assessments. Right now, our team's currently in the data collection and the analysis phase of that process. And we're going to be spending months of time performing the field visits, auditing permit data and the damage data, and making sure we're making appropriate adjustments on every parcel that's been affected by the storm. So right now what we know is preliminary, but the task at hand, it's a major lift and it's a lot of work, a lot of data, and making sure we make these adjustments and gather valuable data and inform and gather information for our residents is the utmost priority for our team right now. So we're also currently, the issue we're seeing is we can't answer the question of how the market is going to perform after Helene. So for that, we need time. We need to see how these normal open market transactions perform after this hurricane. So with that being said, that's why I'm here today, is to ask to pass this resolution to push the reappraisal to January 1 of 2026. And sorry.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and second. Further discussion. I guess my question on this, certainly support pushing this out. And I guess I would just ask at this point though, is as you're saying, there's so much data to collect on how property values have been impacted by storm damage, flood damage, and just how the kind of market will overall be affected by the impacts of the storm. Do we know at this point if even moving the reappraisal process back 12 months is sort of a sufficient period of time to really do all of that assessment work? Or is it something that we may not know until we get further into it if that's the appropriate time frame for adjusting the schedule,
Correct.
or if some additional time may be needed?
Correct, commissioners. We don't know yet if it's going to be 2027, but we do know that we have to start looking at it this year. And we've talked about that if it's a 1 year or 2 year look. And we thought we'll do 1 year. And as we get through the year and we see how that's going, we will have this conversation again and readjust where we need to be.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Any other questions? All right, all in favor? Actually, let me go through the roll call. Vice Chair Parker Sloan,
Aye.
Commissioner Al Whitesides,
Aye.
Commissioner Terry Wells,
Aye.
Commissioner Jasmine Beach Ferrara,
Aye.
Commissioner Martin Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Amanda Edwards.
Aye.
Okay, and I also vote aye. All right. The next item on the agenda is consideration of a budget amendment for the FY 2024-2025 grants project for anticipated federal emergency management agency / state of North Carolina for Hurricane Helene grant funding. And I think John Hudson's going to help us out with this item.
Good evening, commissioners.
Good evening.
This budget amendment establishes a grant project for emergency funding for Hurricane Helene expenditures to be reimbursed by FEMA. As reimbursement may take several years, the grants fund is an appropriate fund for this purpose. This sets an initial budget of $29 million, more than half of which will be focused on debris removal. Any questions?
Yes, John. So this is just the initial expectation, but then you'll be able to adjust this budget as you assess and if you see that we would be likely to need more funds. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. This is the emergency responses. So there are two types of emergency responses. There is category A, which is the debris removal, and there's category B, which is the emergency response. So the things we've been doing with the EOC, all the items we've been doing in emergency response, which we still have to assess those costs for. We have 6 months. So this first 6 months is this emergency area, and then we move to an area of more permanent work, and there will be other categories to follow.
Thank you. And this specifically is with the expectation that all of this will be reimbursed.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I'll make a motion to set up the grants budget, I believe you called it.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and second. Vice Chair Parker Sloan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Al Whitesides,
Aye.
Commissioner Terry Wells,
Aye.
Commissioner Jasmine Beach Ferrara,
Aye.
Commissioner Martin Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Amanda Edwards,
Aye.
and I also vote aye. Thank you, John. Although you've got the next item as well. Consideration of a budget amendment for solid waste department purchase of a compactor.
Yes, the solid waste department would like to amend their budget for the $1,755,328 purchase of a compactor. Previously, this equipment has been leased, but financial analysis completed by the finance department finds that the cost of leasing is no longer fiscally sustainable. This will be a debt project or debt purchase with payments beginning in fiscal year 26.
And John, so this will be coming out of the enterprise fund?
Yes.
And then what is the life of a compactor? I was just thinking of that in relation to the debt financing. Do you know that?
10 to 15 years, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
And Commissioner Melissa's here as well, but just so you know that the debt will marry the same lifetime. So we would not have the debt outstanding longer than the useful life of that asset.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Is there a motion to approve the budget amendment?
So moved.
Second,
All right, let's take the roll call vote. Vice Chair Parker Sloan,
Aye.
Commissioner Al Whitesides,
Aye.
Commissioner Terry Wells,
aye.
Commissioner Jasmine Beach Ferrara,
Aye.
Commissioner Martin Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Amanda Edwards,
Aye.
and I also vote aye. All right, thank you. Thank you, John. The next item is consideration of a resolution designating official banking depositories of Buncombe County, and Melissa Moore, the finance director, will present this information.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
State statutory requires that we maintain a list of depositories or financial institutions holding county funds. So as the county continues to advance our investments of idle funds, we've opened accounts in 3 new financial institutions. So it would be Pinnacle Bank, Bank OZK, and First National Bank, or FNB, also known as FNB. So those 3 banks are new to our list of depositories. Those are included in the resolution. US Bank is already listed as a depository, but just so you're aware, as of today, we have transitioned our trustee services over to US Bank, and that transfer transition has been completed with all bond funds being signed off.
And Melissa, can you just speak a little bit more to why specifically you chose these institutions to also use for deposits?
Yes, so we went out for basically a solicitation saying we have X amount of money that we would like to invest, and the financial institutions bid with the highest interest rate in terms. So these institutions were the most favorable with the appropriate amount of yield and most competitive.
Melissa, this is Al Whitesides. Where is OCK? ZK, where is that located? That's the only one on the list I'm not familiar with.
I don't recall exactly. I know that I have met with them, and they have been doing business in the state of North Carolina. I don't recall off the top of my head where they're located.
It started in Arkansas. I looked them up today. So it initiated there in Arkansas, and I think they changed the name when they spread out from there, and that's the OZK. But I think they were like in Texas, Tennessee, North Carolina, Arkansas, and maybe a few other states.
What was the name before, Terry? You remember?
Let me see if I can pull that back up. Hold on just a second. I don't have it pulled up on my screen.
That's all right, I can, yeah.
Okay.
So I recommend approving the resolution as submitted.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Roll call vote. Parker Sloan,
Aye.
Al Whitesides,
Aye.
Terry Wells,
Aye.
Jasmine Beach Ferrara,
Aye.
Martin Moore,
Aye.
Amanda Edwards,
Aye.
and I also vote aye. Okay, thank you, Melissa. The next item is consideration of budget amendments to the General Fund 911 Special Revenue Fund and the Mountain Mobility Special Revenue Fund for fiscal year 2024 budget carryforwards. And John Hudson will help us out again with this item.
Commissioners, these budget ordinances amend the general fund budget by $3,976,304 and the 911 special revenue fund by $516,758 by appropriating fund balance to pay for goods and services not delivered in fiscal year 24. Additionally, there's $2,043,359 in the transportation fund that will be carried forward and offset by $1.7 million of intergovernmental revenue and $327,000 of appropriate fund balance. Additionally, ambulance purchases are being moved to the capital projects fund, while one project is closed and budget moved to existing capital projects to take on costs from fiscal year 24 related to those projects. Are there any questions?
And John, just, can you, I know I get questions about this sometime. Can you explain why it is that we have to do this carry forward?
So as the general fund is an annual budget, the budget closes on June 30th. We had purchased goods and services. For the most part, these are capital projects to include vehicles, ambulances, some capital project from Public Safety Training Center that were not received or in fiscal year 24. And when we pay upon receipt, so we needed these dollars to be moved to this budget and appropriate fund balance to do so.
Thank you.
All right, we need two different votes on these items. Is there a motion to approve the budget carry forward ordinance for general and 911 special revenue fund?
So move.
Second.
Okay, let's do the roll call vote on that item first. Parker Sloan,
Aye.
Al Whitesides,
Aye.
Terry Wells,
Aye.
Jasmine Beach Ferrara,
Aye.
Commissioner Martin Moore,
Aye.
Amanda Edwards.
Aye.
Okay, and I also vote aye. Is there a motion to approve the budget carry forward ordinance for capital projects fund?
So move.
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Parker Sloan,
Aye.
Al Whitesides,
Aye.
Terry Wells,
Aye.
Jasmine Beach Ferrara,
Aye.
Martin Moore,
Aye.
Amanda Edwards.
Aye.
Okay, and I also vote aye. All right. The next item and the last item under new business is consideration of a resolution authorizing the county manager to enter into a purchase contract with Southeastern Specialty Vehicles, Inc. for the purchase of 3 ambulances. And Jamie Judd, our EMS division manager, will provide us some with additional information.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. As you know, Emergency Service Division and EMS has been working with budget, finance, and general services, developing a fleet replacement plan to maintain our operational fleet and also looking at operational expansion as we move forward. We continue to see issues in the supply chain for ambulance fleets. So chassis as well as long build times continue to be an issue when ordering ambulances. We've been able to secure 3 build slots with one of our providers, Southeastern Specialty Vehicles, that will allow us to lock in some spots for future ambulance builds that would be delivered in FY27. And so basically what we're asking for is go ahead and into an agreement with Southeastern Specialty Vehicles to secure those spots, to guarantee those builds for us. They also will lock in our price at just over $1.2 million for those 3 ambulances. And these are the same build of ambulances that we just received and are putting onto the road this week, which will be the diesel ambulances with the idle mitigation systems that we came forward about a year ago to secure the build of those. So we're just replacing that or copying that build. It's already been engineered and everything, and continue those fleet forward so we can meet our needs, continuing into the future as we continue to grow and to build out our fleet and to sustain our fleet for the coming years with that. Any questions?
Motion to approve the agreement to purchase the 3 ambulances.
Second.
All right, let's do the roll call vote one more time. Parker Sloan,
Aye.
Al Whitesides,
Aye.
Terry Wells,
Aye.
Jasmine Beach Ferrara,
Aye.
Martin Moore,
Aye.
Amanda Edwards,
Aye.
and I also vote aye. All right, thank you, Jamie. Appreciate you. All right, there are no items under old business and no board appointments this evening. So we do have one announcement to make. The next regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners will be held on Thursday, November 7th, 2024, which is later in the week than we normally schedule them. But Tuesday, November 5th is Election Day, so we're having this meeting later in the week rather than having it on Election Day itself. There is a need for a closed session following the regular meeting. Kurt Euler, I believe, is going to provide information on the purpose of the closed session.
Yes, we need to have a closed session to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege, to consider and give instructions to an attorney concerning the handling or settlement of a claim for a workers' number 20-045914, and regarding a lawsuit that is in federal district court in the Western District of North Carolina with case number 123 CV 282. There will be no need for formal action after the closed
All
session.
right, thank you, Kurt. Is there a motion to go into closed session for the purposes just outlined?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioners,
All
give
right.
us a moment while we clear the room.
Okay, and we need to do the roll call vote on that. Vice Chair Parker Sloan,
Aye.
Commissioner Al Whitesides,
Aye.
Commissioner Terry Wells,
Aye.
Commissioner Jasmine Beach Ferrara,
Aye.
Commissioner Martin Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Amanda Edwards,
Aye.
and I also vote aye.